What's going on, everyone? So, Team USA took the L against Lithuania today in their first FIBA loss. They're not completely out of it yet, but they got to lock down. They got to get focused. I do think that this loss could be hugely beneficial, right? They're a team that's not the A team, it's rather the B team, right? And instead of, having these struggles, they seem to kind of just run through everybody. They were tested a little bit here and there, but for the most part, they've kind of coasted. They've played from behind a couple times, but like when they've turned on the Jets, it was enough to push ahead and go win the game. Where this time, they just dug themselves into such a big hole that they weren't able to climb out of it. And they, it looked at times like, oh, okay, like they're going to right the ship, they're going to be fine, things are going to be good, and they just weren't able to overcome it. But one of the big things that I think is hilarious is the narrative right now centered around Austin Reaves, more so than like the Team USA as a whole or, the other star players that are on Team USA, right? Like, Team USA, Austin Reaves has definitely been a focal point, has definitely been a fixture, right? And with all the good press, of course, you're going to get the bad. People have been waiting for Austin Reaves to have a bad game and to fall, right? Like, they put you on a pedestal and they can't wait to take you off. And that, of course, was expected. That was thought to come. But it's just so funny seeing, like, all of, like, just people and media and fans and all that stuff just, like, almost try to blame Austin Reaves for the loss, right? But they don't want to give him the credit when they win. And it's like the guy has been one of, if not their most consistent players the entire FIBA. He's #1 in rating. The dude has had games where he was the guy that won it for him, led the team in scoring and assists. Like, everyone has bad games. But it wasn't like Team USA played great and Austin Reaves was just the only bad player. Like, nobody showed up. It was a terrible game all around. Anthony Edwards, he had, 34 or something like that. And he is the best player on this team. But outside of him, like, who else has been showing up? Brandon Ingram was supposed to be the best player, and that guy's been irrelevant. That guy's been our third worst rated player on Team USA. He's non-existent. Jalen Brunson didn't have a great game at all, and even he talked about it after the game, about how, so we're just not going to hold the actual stars accountable? So the people that think Austin Reaves is overrated and overhyped, they don't truly believe that, because if they did, they wouldn't be solely blaming him for the losses. And again, I've talked about, is he being overhyped? To an extent, yes. But no, he's living up to the hype, right? If he was some bum that was getting all this tension and all this hype and just it's like, where is this coming from? Oh yeah, he's on the Lakers. Then yeah, I would completely agree with you. But that's not the case here. Is he getting more attention than he would have otherwise? Sure, because he's a Laker, right? And so, of course, he's going to get a little more shine, a little more media attention, right? Like, after their first win in FIBA, right, he had a great game, don't get me wrong, but he was third or fourth in that game, and he's the one that got the interview. He was the one that got the primetime slot, right? Like, he's gotten a lot of attention. I can understand that. I can see those points. But two things can be the same at the same time, right? Two things can be right at the same time. Austin Reaves could be getting a little overblown media attention, but he could also be living up to that said attention, right? When Anthony Edwards has a bad game, people aren't talking about him. Oh, this, what's going on with Anthony Edwards? But Austin Reaves has one bad game in FIBA, and it wasn't even that bad. But, I mean, he was guarding, centers and power forwards all game, right? Like, the guy still had, 7 points? He didn't have an assist and a rebound, but you know how assists work? The guys have to make the shot, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you could pass it to the wide open guy every single time and make the right play, but if they never make the shot when you pass it, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to get an assist. It's not like you can get assists by yourself, right? And again, I'm not saying that he had this great game or anything like that today. No, he had a bad game. So did everyone else for the most part. They lost the game. But it wasn't solely on Austin Reaves, which is why I think the narrative is so funny. Because it's like you have all these people that say Austin Reaves doesn't belong, he doesn't deserve it, he shouldn't be on the roster, he's overblown, overrated, he's just a role guy, he sucks, he's trash, all of the noise, right? There's all of the noise. But then FIBA has their first loss and everybody's going to blame it on the guy that shouldn't have been there, that sucks, is just a role player, that, shouldn't even be on the team. Like, that's who we're blaming? We're blaming the guy that's the 6th, 7th man on the team? Not Jalen Brunson, not Anthony Edwards, not Brandon Ingram, not Mikal Bridges, not Triple J, not Tyrese Halliburton, not all these guys, Paolo Banchero, all these guys that are franchise guys for their teams. We're blaming Austin Reaves. Do you see how silly that is? Do you see how goofy these people sound? Like, it's hilarious. And I get it. It's all the noise of the internet. It's all the just nonsense, right? But but then those same people want to know, why does Austin Reaves keep getting this attention and this hype? And it's because even they are hyping him up. You're even putting him on this pedestal. You're even, elevating him to heights that you try to claim he's not achievable at, right? Like, you're basically putting him at a star level. Because if he's not a star, and he's not the guy, and he's just this, that, and the other, then why would you criticize him when Team USA loses, when he's not even one of the top 3, 4 best players on the team? Because he is him. Because he is that guy. Because he has been living up to the hype. I mean, even in the playoffs, right? Austin Reaves had his emergence. He was great. And then he had like 2 or 3 game stretch where he was just bad. Like, you couldn't buy a bucket. He was just turning the ball over. It was just rough, right? He was missing defensive assignments. He was just getting cooked. And it looked rough, right? But once again, you heard all the noise. Oh, see, Austin Reaves, he finally ran in, because that was the Warrior series, if I'm not mistaken, and everyone was like, oh, see, look, now he's playing a good team, he's got to guard Clay, oh, he's not this guy, blah, 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 blah. And he had that game or two where he had a rough stretch, and he immediately bounced back and was perfectly fine and was right back to where he led off. And then elevated even further, went Super Saiyan 3 into the Denver Nuggets series. Because in the Denver Nuggets series, he was arguably, if not our most consistent player, averaged 21 on almost 50, 40, 90. He had 21, 5, and 5 on almost 50, 40, 90. The guy did everything you could ask of him. And he's doing the same thing for Team USA. Team USA loses, and he's the guy you want to blame? He's the guy that is so what you're telling me is that Austin Reaves is the best player on Team USA. Because if you're going to hold him accountable, and he's the sole reason that Team USA lost, well, then guess what? That means he's the best player on the team. If you don't believe he's the best player on the team, then you shouldn't be holding him to the standard of the best player on the team. Right? If he's the best player on the team and Team USA lost, fine. Right? It comes with the territory. Right? That's just how it works. You're the best player on your team, you usually get the blame. You usually get the criticism. Or even the second, right? There's always that scapegoat, right? So, okay, even if you don't think he's the best player on the team, do you think he's the second best player on the team? Right? So, think of the LeBron effect, right? Whatever team LeBron's on, they lose. It's never LeBron's fault. It's always somebody else's. It's always Chris Bosh's fault, or it's Anthony Davis's fault, or it's Kevin Love's fault. There's always that scapegoat, right? Okay, fine. So then let's say that. So then Anthony Edwards is clearly their best player. We can't blame him, right? He scored 34 points. So then who's their second best player? Because everyone's blaming Austin Reaves like it's him. Everyone's blaming Austin Reaves like he's that guy. But then those same people want to say Austin Reaves is not him, and Austin Reaves is just some role guy that didn't belong, that is trash, and is nothing better than just a glorified role player. Okay, where's the consistency? He's either a star level player or he's not. I think he is fantastic. I think he is playing to the level of stars right now. I mean, all the stats, all the ratings, all the metric, every metric shows that, right? He's number one in rating. He has been arguably their second, third best player. Like, consistency-wise, absolutely. I mean, he's averaging what, like 11 and 5, 11 and 6, something like that. Like, that's really good for FIBA, where, you know, there's all these different rules. He's not the star player. Like, it's fine. Again, if you want to blame him for this loss, I have no problem. Go ahead, blame him for the loss. But when they win, you need to credit him for the win. You know, and you need to start admitting that he is that guy. Because you can't have it both ways, right? You can't say, oh, he's trash and he's a bum, and then blame him for a loss, right? It wasn't like, you know, it came down to a buzzer beater and Austin Reaves missed it, right? Then, I mean, again, I still don't think he'd solely be to blame, but I could understand the sentiment a little more, right? I could understand people's issues a little more. But that's not what happened. So what is it? Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Somewhere in between? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.